Okay, interesting hearing today on Biden's cognitive decline. And it's important to note that the same people who are either helping cover it up or willfully ignoring it refuse to show up.
You know, the visual, sometimes it really is true. A picture speaks louder than words. It's worth 1,000 words. And here, all you have to do is look over at this side of the dais to see that the stone wall continues. I mean, from the party that lied to this nation for 4 years.
Thank you for those opening statements. The minority did not call any witnesses for today's hearing. They have chosen to ignore the hearing as they chose to ignore President Biden's mental decline.
Look, even if you lived under a rock, approximately, give or take, 0 people doubted Biden's cognitive decline. Even the people who denied it for 4 years, they knew, okay? This hearing now is largely just kabuki theater because you can't undo damage that Biden did. But the reason I care about this is threefold. One, there are nearly 9,000 pardons. Are they legally valid? I mean, they called a lid for Biden nearly every day at 2 p.m. You want me to believe he actually signed 9,000 pardons knowingly? Right, sure. And 2, are the actions. Maybe things even signed into law that could be null and void if Biden wasn't all there. And 3, who's going to jail for all this? Who's going to jail for covering it up? A guy you're going to hear from in just a minute, actually, noted the suspicious rise in the Autopen use.
The Oversight Project, of which I am a board member, has discovered that the Biden White House deployed an Autopen to affix President Biden's signature to pardons, prison commutations, executive orders, and presidential proclamations. The Oversight Project's research has found that the Biden White House first deployed the Autopen to affix President Biden's signature to a proclamation on day 5 of his administration, and that there were at least 3 different Autopen signatures in use throughout President Biden's tenure in the White House. We found that of the 51 clemency warrants issued during the Biden presidency, over half, 32 in total, were signed with an Autopen.
Because a bunch of people may have pardoned themselves. That's why we're curious. And uncovering Biden's actual cognitive decline could be the only mechanism to challenge those pardons. And the only venue to prove this would be to show evidence in a trial of someone who's received these pardons, where the question is, I mean, did someone else sign or authorize this pardon, all the while leading us to the presidential not actually signing it?
The only situation I can think of that clearly would bring into question whether the pardon was valid, which was the first question, was if the government sought to prosecute someone and the person who purportedly received the pardon offered the pardon as a defense, then the government might say that, no, the pardon was invalid and therefore you weren't pardoned, you're still subject to prosecution.
Basically, charge them. That's the only way to test this. Did these people preemptively pardon themselves and their allies? I'm talking about like Hunter Biden and friends. And that is why Democrats have tried everything they could to obfuscate the reason for this hearing today. The Democrats that did show up, though I think there were 2 of them, they did everything they could to not talk about the issues actually at hand.
Of course, these pay-to-play pardons are in addition to more than 1,500 January 6 rioters who received blanket pardon from President Trump, including 169 who violently assaulted law enforcement officials.
Have we had a discussion about climate change that is causing havoc throughout the world? But instead of this Congress debating those different points of view about oil exploration, or about clean energy, about a good healthcare system, what we do is turn that debate into personal accusations.
Yeah, climate change. These guys got up and walked right out after they gave their statements. Dick Durbin, though, he, as you saw, never disappoints.
But instead of exercising this constitutional oversight duty, my Republican colleagues are holding this hearing. Apparently, armchair diagnosing former President Biden is more important than the issues of grave concern which I have mentioned.
Pretty big grave concern. I'm not armchair quarterbacking anything. I'm not sure Dick Durbin understands the gravity of what happened in the last 4 years. The president may have not been the president. We're not armchair quarterbacking anything. One of Biden's most staunch cover-up mouthpieces, Jake Tapper, who, if you recall, booed Laura Trump off air just months before the election for insinuating Biden wasn't all there. Even he has now written a book interviewing hundreds of people that was read at this hearing. And instead of acknowledging that, Dick Durbin, before he walked out, decided to put a supercut together of Donald Trump, who's not the subject of this hearing, saying, "I don't know" to certain questions.
And we're going to make a question of cognitive ability. I think we should consider what happened in Alberta, Canada, just this week. Now I'd like you to see a short video that includes some other examples of cognitive ability.
I mean, he went on to show a bunch of times he would say, "I don't know" to a reporter. Okay? Of course, they just played stupid clips of that, which maybe a president should be able to say they don't know if they don't actually know the answer to something. Even Jake Tapper admitted when he was called out by a fan that Trump doesn't have a cognitive issue, saying it was a personality issue he had.
Right now, I really don't like you. When are you going to examine, what is going on with Trump?
President Trump's behavior have more to do with personality than with cognitive decline?
Oh, I mean, at least he's somewhat rational about it. Something that Dick Durbin and the other Democrats that actually showed up for at least a little while can't seem to quantify. Just because these people hate Donald Trump doesn't make him the things they say he is. But one of the things I found absolutely insane in this hearing, and this was presented by one of the legal experts called by Republicans, because Democrats didn't call anyone, was potentially making a law that would verify the president was aware of the Autopen being used?
Congress can regularize the process by which the president's signature is affixed without his manual signature in a way that would be consistent with Congress's horizontal, necessary, and proper power. In particular, Congress can require that when the president indicates that his signature is to be affixed to a document without manual signature, that decision by the president be documented and some individual record that the president has made that decision, and that be made part of the public record, say by being published in the Federal Register or the weekly compilation of presidential documents.
I mean, dude, that's the point of a signature, that it's supposed to be a recognition of the person holding that office. Imagine a society, this is where we are, so bureaucratic that we have someone testifying under oath that we should have an additional signature of somebody saying they witnessed the signature of the person actually signing. See, in the rest of the world, that's actually called a notary, which shouldn't be required for the president, because what goes in and out of the Oval Office to be signed should be monitored. I mean, could you imagine the notion of that? Oh, Mr. President, can you sign this bill to, I don't know, fund the United States government? Oh, yeah, we can't do it here. We got to go down to the local bank to get it notarized. I mean, seriously? We should have faith in the system, but the fact that we don't right now is exactly why this hearing is needed. And Josh Hawley summed up why.
So right now, today, I call on President Biden, former President Biden and his staff, release the documents. You have them, you know you have them, release them. If what you did is legal, and if you're really not embarrassed about it, and you think it was totally constitutional, release the paper flow. Show us the documents where the president authorized the use of the pen for every single pardon and clemency and stay application. Let's see it.
But yet, still all the Dems are saying this is legit. Biden was the most competent and he was most involved president ever. And we'll sit there and use that as a justification to not have to show these documents that are, in fact, those of legitimate signatures. Ted Cruz absolutely nailed it.
For all of their strutting about, protesting that they support democracy, not a one of them gave a damn about democracy when they pulled Biden off the ballot and dropped Kamala Harris in without a single Democrat primary voter voting for him. And you know what? Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years.
So I guess the only thing to do is charge these people. Hunter Biden was in the middle of a trial or already convicted of tax fraud, drug charges, gun charges, not to mention the investigation into foreign influence. Carry out the remainder of the trials. Sentence him on the things he was already convicted of. That's how you break the dam, because now they will have to enter into evidence that the pardon is real, with the strongest piece of evidence against these pardons from Biden himself, when he said he wouldn't pardon his son ever. And they don't have to, if they can't refute that, well, then the pardons, I don't think, stand. And We can charge Mark Milley for colluding with China. We can charge Fauci for crimes against humanity. We can charge the entire January 6th committee for lying, deleting evidence, and perpetuating the greatest cover-up on the American people since it poisoned and killed thousands of people during Prohibition. And this goes for all the other mass pardons in Biden's last days in office. What prosecutor or attorney general out there has the spine to do it?
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.